All right. Maybe let's just get going then, Michael. I feel like we might not. Okay. So, Cheyenne, Josh, Chris, if you want to introduce yourself, feel free to hop off camera, introduce yourself. I think everybody knows everybody on the call, but rather than putting it in the chat, you can just tell us who you are if you'd like, or put it in the chat.
Sure. I'm Joshua Gaga. I'm the IT manager for the city of San Luis Obispo, and lucky enough to get put in charge of all of our broadband projects.
Awesome.
Hi, everybody. I'm Cheyenne Brooks. I'm with Cox Communications, and I'm the local public affairs and government affairs specialist here in Santa Barbara.
Okay.
And I'm Chris Cherwin. I'm the CIO for the County of Santa Barbara.
Awesome. Welcome to our three committed soldiers to broadband. You know your BCPC team, but we can introduce ourselves again. I'm Malika. I am lead for Ventura County, and stepping in for Shelby as she's in transit right now. Shelby is the Tri-County lead and also the lead for Santa Barbara County. Michael?
Yeah, hi everybody. Michael Foote, lead for San Luis Obispo County through the consortium.
And I'm
Nadine?
not Tim, but I'm Nadine, and I do the communications for the Broadband Consortium.
Awesome.
And I'm Tim Tierney, handling mapping and GIS for the consortium.
Awesome, thank you. All righty, so let's go ahead and we can just briefly check the agenda that we were going to review, see if anything resonates with folks on the call that aren't aware of the things going on there. And then we'll go through a couple of updates and open it up to you all for any updates that you might have to share. And then we might have a very short and sweet, we'll likely have a very short and sweet meeting this time. So Nadine, can you move to the next slide, please? Alrighty, so again, just a quick check-in. If folks want to share anything on what's going on in their region, we'll talk a little bit about the Ventura Regional Broadband Initiative that's completed. Michael will share a little bit about the local government's best practices checklist project. It's a mouthful. And then if Shelby is back on time, we can go through some of the infrastructure grant timeline and looking ahead. But let's see, open up to Josh, Cheyenne, and Chris. Is there anything that you'd like to share about, your scope, your sphere of influence going on there?
Sure. We've talked a little bit before at previous meetings. We're still in kind of the design and engineering completion of our broadband project that we got FFA grant funding for. So we are getting our 90%, I think, next week, which is exciting, and still on track to get things done within the time frame, which I hear is challenging for some still. But we're tracking at the moment to be able to do that. We are talking with the CPC a little bit. Their most recent data request, they asked for some verification of addresses and things, and we found a couple strange things where it seems like there's some census blocks and things that were added that we didn't apply for or select. So we're working that out with them, and I think we're going to do a slight amendment to our project here, but doesn't affect generally the number of unserved or underserved households we're looking at. Won't affect our build at all. It's going to be the same build. Just some interesting mapping errors.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very cool. Michael, do we have any questions for Josh specific to San Luis? I know we communicate so much with each other, so it's like, what's new?
Yeah, I might tap him later for the checklist, but I think we're good there. And yeah, open it up for any of the other regions.
Great. Chris or Cheyenne, is there anything you wanted to share about what's going on in your worlds?
I can just quickly chime in. Unfortunately, I've missed, I think, the last couple broadband meetings and haven't been able to connect with Shelby. I know Shelby attends some of the things in our county, so she'll probably have some updates for Santa Barbara County. But from just what I'm hearing, really very little is happening right now in our region. So I wish I had more news, but I just, like I said, I've missed the last couple of meetings, so don't really have any updates. I was hoping to just hear from all of you and what you're doing. So
All right, no problem there. Yeah, I think Shelby shares with us too a little bit of what she's meeting with. So she just had a meeting with Steven, who is the middle mile, the state's middle mile partner on a segment that's off the 166 in Koyama, and just hearing what some of the barriers are with Steven's build out of the middle mile. Mostly it sounds like it's mostly related to like BLM land, like teeny tiny segments, and a couple of endangered species along those segments. That is the largest holdup, but also that Stephen is going ahead with all of their permitting for other areas, so they're not waiting for those little BLM sections. They do feel like it could take up to, I think she said 6 months yesterday. Correct me if I'm wrong, Michael. To go through the BLM approval, the federal approval processes and permitting. So sounds like they're working through it, and there are contingencies in terms of like what to take care of while they wait for the federal government. But we'll probably want to tap into Stephen closer too, because they go into SLO County as well.
Yeah, the project connects Kern County all the way to Napovo and SLO County, and then down to the 135 into Santa Maria. So good connection, good redundancy. As far as Shelby shared out that they're still on track for 2026. Through the permitting, there's always just kind of unknown questions when it comes to multiple agencies, particularly. So good to see that project moving forward, and good connection into several counties.
Okay, cool. Cheyenne, anything you'd like to share?
I didn't have any major updates. Similarly, I just wanted to hop on and listen in and see if anyone else had anything to address or update. So
I do have a question, Cheyenne, and you don't have to have the answer, but I know that that Cox does offer sort of smaller but nice grants to community organizations where Cox serves for digital equity projects. And I just don't know if there is a calendar for those grants, what the time frame looks like on them. I know that with the state's digital equity plan poof into the air, and a lot of organizations that do digital literacy work are going to try and find ways to continue that work in terms of funding. And it would be awesome to know kind of on a broader scale what Cox's different grant programming is, so we can share that and distribute that to the communities that you're present in.
Yeah, absolutely. I can go ahead and put some information together and send it over to you, Malika, and that you can share with everybody if that
Perfect
works.
Yes, that's awesome. That'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll get that over to you.
Okay, thanks. All righty. Well, thank you all for participating there. I think we can move on to the next slide and just kind of go through some of the work there. So we are happy to announce the Ventura Council of Government's ladder grant is complete. We completed it as of May 31st. And, we've talked through it in these meetings multiple times, but the 3 work products are now done, and we're just in the final reporting phase. As a reminder, the work products were, this development of a JPA of a regional coordination for Ventura County municipal assets and things like that. But what we discovered was that a JPA on the part of Ventura Council of Governments was not necessary. They have an existing JPA that kind of encompassed a lot of the efforts that we were recommending in terms of, just becoming a coordinating body for efforts, not necessarily managing any assets, because there are no like shared assets to manage right now, especially because Ventura County didn't get like barely any FFA money. So the outcome of that particular work product was a strategic plan amendment for VCOG, where they included broadband for all issues in their overall general work plan and issues to address, in addition to establishing a broadband standing committee made up of 5 member agencies who would convene on, and they're still trying to determine the cadence of convening, but it looks probably like a quarterly convening where the members will convene, or the members of the broadband standing committee. It's a 5-member committee, and they'll convene quarterly to just to determine the strategic direction and what issues to be focusing on, and encouraging their member agencies to connect with other regional partners in. The first meeting of that broadband standing committee is going to be June 30th, where we'll establish a lot of this information so we can report out on that in the coming months as well. The second work product for the latter grant was the development of a regional strategy. And that report is done. We are so thankful for that. And I'll put in the chat the link to that report. It is made up in 2 parts. One part is the county as a whole, and the second part is a look at each municipal, each city, and a view of the sort of the current position of that city, and additionally identifying these broadband opportunity zones. So in part 1, the broadband opportunity zones are countywide, and with a narrative on the unincorporated communities. And in those opportunity zones, analysis includes, the cost for deployment, the general area unserved, et cetera, et cetera. And the intent of the broadband opportunity zones really is sort of this phase 1 to getting to this emergent network 2030, which is the kind of culmination of the report, where what can Ventura County look like in 2030 if we all work together, if the region works together to address these specific opportunity zones that you see here on the map. And there are fixed wireless and fiber opportunity zones as well. The city of Moore Park, recently brought on another ISP into their community. And one of the points of feedback on the broadband opportunity zone that was identified in the city of Moore Park was that the numbers in terms of deployment cost and the folks in that area really matched what the ISP was reporting out in terms of what it was going to cost for them as well too. So it has turned into a very good tool for folks interested in deploying and in, again, working within the county there. And part 1 then ends with strategic priorities that are recommended for VCOG and members to focus on in order to help achieve that emergent network as well. So I think it can also be really that strategic priority section for, you, Josh and Chris, to take a look at it and just kind of see what are those recommendations and priorities that could be replicated in your own communities. And I think that's a good tool there. And part 2, again, as I said, is each city, dive into each city there, not with specific recommendations, but opportunity zones identified. And then the third work product on that report was a last mile connections report, which really outlines a collaborative framework to extend high-speed internet access across Ventura County by bringing together service providers, local governments, and community organizations, and creating this sort of, symbiotic relationship to optimize deployment and adoption at the same time. So that report, I'll throw a link in there, but as a part of the work that we did, again, to, if you build it, will they come sort of concept, right? And supporting that adoption component of that. Yeah, and so really what the regional broadband initiative, the ladder grant work products all amount to is that it really kind of shifts a lot of the collaboration, the regional collaboration, to VCOG, and in the aims of helping to encourage efficient uses of limited government funding, and also collaboration between private providers, local governments, and then the community organizations as well. Ventura County is really kind of well served in most areas, and as we see probably in most counties, the areas that need the most help in terms of connectivity are those in the unincorporated areas, and that's still reflected in Ventura County as well, with the exception of Ojai. They are really in need of a new provider, but I think there are some folks that are already gearing up to get in there too. So that is the report out on the Ventura Regional Broadband Initiative. Is there any questions that you guys might have?
That's exciting that it's
It
gotten
is
done.
exciting. The report, and kudos to Nadine. If you look at the report and you say, wow, this is beautiful, Nadine is really the mastermind on the beauty of the report. And it turned into quite a beast. We actually printed it out for VCOG members at their request. And it's like super, oh, you can't see because that, but I'm not going to change my outline. But it's a big, hefty piece. I feel bad for the trees, but it is a nice piece of work that we're very proud of there. Thank you. Alrighty, Nadine, you want to move on? We'll hit it to Michael.
Yeah, I might be somewhat brief on this, give a little bit of a update, and then let Josh, as someone who's maybe participated in this a little bit more, speak to anything locally that he got out of it. But yeah, just wanted to share, a little bit of what this is. I know some of you probably got the invite to participate in the local government best practices process. There was some incentive behind that. And really what's come out of that is, some really impactful best practices that can be used and utilized, at every local jurisdiction. So, we've seen, a wide range of applications of that, but it has, added a layer to, what local jurisdictions can do at a lot of different levels. So, really exciting to kind of see some of that become more prioritized in areas where maybe it hasn't been as much of a priority in the past. And what we're able to start doing now is to collectively start, gathering some of that data, that information, and we'll be showcasing that out as, you can see on here, our regional dashboard, not necessarily to score anybody against anybody, but to really start showing, what again can be done and where we can all start to improve a little bit more. So look forward to seeing more of that coming. And again, I can pass it to Josh to share maybe insights on what he got out of it or where he's seen some value locally.
Sure. Yeah. So I think it was a good cohort to be part of. I think what was exciting for us is there are some cases where we were a bit ahead of other folks. And so being able to share some of the lessons we learned I think was good. It helps people not have to repeat some of the mistakes we made, and can accelerate some of that. And then it was also really good to hear from other organizations that were ahead of us in areas and what they're doing. And one of the big challenges I think we have as a region is around permitting and trying to streamline permitting across jurisdictions so that we can start to attract investment from other places and say, hey, if you want to build broadband in San Luis Obispo, you might as well keep building in Atascadero and Rio Grande and Grover, because it's easy. It's all the same permitting. It's the same requirements. It's relatively similar. So I think that's an area we're gonna try to focus on regionally as we move forward, is to try to see if we can do some more streamlined permitting kind of across the region and make things a little easier to do broadband work in the region. So
that's a really good point, Josh. I appreciate bringing that up. I know in North County, San Luis Obispo, Atascadero and Paso Robles, tied their strategies together and have really started seeing additional funding in two separate tranches come into those strategies because of that, priority in those demand signals that are there. And really, from the, ISP side, this is a helpful way to start, showing, again, if you want to see what local jurisdictions are doing, and if you want to be able to nudge some other jurisdictions or neighboring jurisdictions, to get in alignment, it's a helpful way to do that. Again, in just a clear and transparent type of way. I think that's all I've got to share at this point. More coming soon on our dashboard, but won't give any more spoilers away yet.
Well, I want to say something about the dashboard, which is that this technology you see here, everybody, this was developed by ourselves at the consortium after initially trying to use an off-the-shelf product for our dashboard tech, that being a Microsoft Power BI, which is a popular tool for this purpose. But as we were trying to really dial it in to work exactly the way we wanted, the technology was fighting us more and more. So we ended up taking a couple steps backward and refactoring in just our own technology from scratch. So that what you see here is a tool that we have a very high degree of control over in terms of making things very particularly how we want them. And also, though you don't see it in this picture, also embedding interactive maps into this technology, which as you press other buttons and checkboxes, the map will respond to that. And so this is going to be giving us, going forward, a really good, a robust capability for maps combined with dashboard elements around the maps that we think will be of value to our constituents. Back to you, Malika.
Right. Thank you, Tim, and thank you, Michael. Yeah, as being a part of the best practices checklist learning community, it's a very long title. I'd echo in Josh's experience in there too. It's really cool to hear about the different projects that people have been able to accomplish. Also to hear, the different stages people are at, and kind of compare them regionally to us, or even like on the more micro level on a different municipality. But it's cool to hear all the different programming. One area of feedback I would give CETF is like, can you just consolidate all of the projects and the learnings from each of those projects so that there's a database or a source of information for municipalities to go to. Okay, well, I want to enhance my policy leader score in this specific area, like in strategies identified and implemented. Well, what are those strategies identified and implemented? Who do I bring on board? I think, Michael, you had brought it up too, that it's tough in each municipality, the lead on broadband is different. Could be somebody in, information. It could be in somebody in economic development. It could be, in planning, but it really requires the communication between all the channels. So who's who is the ideal sort of lead per municipality for that, and understanding, how to build that together and have everybody at the table and think intrapreneurially, right? To create some efficiencies there. And so it's a great tool. It's a great learning community. Just there's lots of room for improvement and lots of room for helping others to reduce those things to learn from, because you can learn from others already. Alrighty, well, more to come on this. So our next slide was Shelby was going to take away, but I don't see her back yet. Really, it's just an assessment of the upcoming timeline for the infrastructure grant. The information we've received is that July is the publishing of the broadband map for the grant. We don't know if that'll be July 1 or July 31. We'll see. I think it really is also, I believe, if I'm understanding correctly, is the state is trying to see what happens with BEAD in the BEAD applications. I think that they're, that BEAD, like what they are going to propose for BEAD funding to NTIA, but they're not also quite sure what's going to happen with BEAD funding. So it's a little chicken and egg situation. But the communications we've received so far is that July is going to be the map publishing. I believe today is the CPUC voting meeting on the final budget allocations for the CASIF accounts. And that would be adoption, infrastructure, etc. So we'll see what that's going to look like. But in terms of what the consortia is going to be doing as a look ahead in concert with the infrastructure grant is in July, matching once the map is available, we are going to take a look at it and each of your respective regions and municipalities and see how they overlay in opportunity zones and current projects to see what, and then reach out to to our partners here in the region on what could be some potential infrastructure applications that we would propose or encourage moving forward with, and then evaluating the priority area eligibility against that in August mostly, and then talking through that in the next August advisory meeting. There will be no July advisory meeting. And then in September, hosting office hours and app support for any infrastructure applications. In October being kind of a culmination meeting. I'm not exactly sure how that's going to look yet, but lots of ideas milling around. So if there's anything also that you'd like to see in the advisory meetings, please always feel free to reach out to us and say, hey, you want to dig into something deeper related to broadband deployment or digital equity or anything like that, so we can help be your partner in getting that information to you and sharing it as a group here. But that's what I think we're looking at as a step ahead, the look ahead. Does anybody have any questions or comments on that?
I just wanted to chime in. A lot of this is still to be determined, and stay tuned. But maybe just emphasizing that, as this starts to lock in, we're going to be leaning in and want to be here to support. So that's kind of giving you, the schedule of what's coming, but, making sure that we're able to help and assist in some of those.
And then I think, Tim, we were talking about also reaching out for the collaboration portal folks in July as well, which you already talked to Josh about on here. So everybody else will just look ahead.
Yeah, that's true. What we're going to do is when we get that data in, then we're going to be reaching out again to people with that data in mind to show how that may be relevant to people in their particular areas.
Thank you. Well, I think that's pretty much it, right, Nadine? Is there anything else going on here?
No,
All right. Well, if there are any other parting words folks want to share, any funny jokes to lighten the universal load right now, please feel free to do so. If
You might need
not,
to take the recording off.
yeah. If not, thanks for being here last minute on a